everyone and welcome back to my channel. I thought I would share my most recent sewing project, which is this Grainline Studio Scout tee. So it's basically a t-shirt, but it's made from a woven fabric rather than a knit fabric, so not stretchy. So I use a cotton poplin fabric in this incredible print. So this is the tee, and it's this incredible navy blue and white lobster print, which I think is awesome. They did have some that were in red, which was a bit more true to lobster colours, but I prefer the blue colour on me rather than the red. She says wearing a red t-shirt. Anyway, I got this from Minerva Crafts, and like I said, it's a cotton poplin. So I use this fabric on with the Scout tee, and first of all I will say that the main issue that I have with this is not the fault of the patterns but my own, and it's at least a size too big. So this is Grainline is clearly an American company, and so they do have American sizes on the pattern. They do also have the measurements as well, but I do find it really difficult to go by the measurements on a pattern to then know what size to pick. So I picked a size 8. In the UK, I'm probably a size 10-ish, 8 to 10 maybe in tops. It really just depends. I'm very used to wearing jersey and, you know, knit fabric t-shirts, and so the fit I think is slightly different as well than when you're using a non-stretchy fabric. But it says in the measurements that it would be for a 29-inch waist, which is, I mean, it depends where you're measuring the waist, and the waist measurement I don't think is that crucial to a t-shirt fit, but that's kind of what I went with, and it is just clearly a size too big for me. But it doesn't actually matter too much because it's quite a boxy fit and it's loose and it just kind of works for summer. So I put it on, it is definitely wearable, but I would choose a smaller size if I was buying it in a shop. Now that I've made it, I cannot be bothered to unpick it all, recut it, make it smaller and then put it back together again. I just think that would be a big old mess and a big old hassle. The pattern, the Scout tee, is a fairly simple, straightforward one. I've definitely been going for the beginner ones, the simple ones. There's no zips, there's no buttons, there's no fastenings, there's also no darts or pleats or anything tricky at all. So that's also why it's kind of a boxy fit. So I have also made a Tillian Buttons Stevie top, which is quite different from this, I would say, but it still has that same kind of boxy shape, and it is also a simple pattern as a result of not having any fastenings. This one is a little bit different because this one has a bias binding around the neck. So I have used bias bindings before, but only ones that I have bought, and only I think to hem the bottom of a dress. I've never used it around the neckline, I never made it myself. I mean, it is just cut on the bias, which is so at a 45-degree angle to the grain line of the fabric, and just to make, so that makes it very stretchy compared to if you cut with the grain line. So you use that to go around a neck, so you can go around the curves, but it's still quite fiddly. So I did find the neckline a little bit fiddly to do, and that's just because I think I'm not used to using bias binding around a neckline, and it is just a little bit awkward, you know, actually sewing it. At one point I sewed the front and the back of my t-shirt together because I was just stupid and didn't think it through when I put it in the sewing machine, and that's because I'm just not used to doing what it wanted me to do. But I mean, it was just also me being really stupid. But apart from that, everything went really well. I found the sleeves, I also found the sleeves a little bit funny because you kind of do, on the sleeve piece itself, you do a couple of rows you baste a couple of rows of stitches in, and then when you are attaching them to the bodice, you kind of pull those basting stitches tight to kind of scrunch up the sleeve so that it fits in the hole that's left in the bodice, the armhole. But I did that, and then that made it too small, so then I had to like unscrunch it and basically just have it being flat. So I didn't really fully understand the point of that, or whether I'd done something wrong, because the sleeves aren't supposed to be, they're not supposed to be like textured or anything. They are just, from the picture anyway, because you only get a line drawing, you don't get any photographs or anything actually with the pattern. The sleeves just sit flat on the shoulder. So I didn't really quite understand that, and it just made it more awkward. But I don't know whether that's me or whether that's just kind of the pattern. The other odd thing that I had with it was I've really been trying to follow the instructions, because I have in the past not followed the instructions and just missed out lots of other little bits that I didn't understand what they meant, or they just seemed like a waste of time, like ironing. So I've been ironing all the time and it really helps. Understitching, top stitching, you know, whatever. It actually really does work, and it actually does really help. So I've been trying to follow the instructions as closely as I can, and one of the instructions was that with my seams I was to press the seams towards the back of the garment. So that's what I've done. I'll try and do an example. I mean, probably know what that looks like. Will it focus? Yeah, so I've just pressed it like that in one direction towards the back of the garment. I would prefer to press them open, but I wanted to follow the instructions because I didn't know whether there was a specific reason why we were pressing them towards the back. When I got to the end and I'd finished, I don't think that there was, and I would have preferred to press them open. And I think when my sewing machine was then hemming the sleeves and the bottom of the top, when it got to the seams, it was having to go through an extra layer of fabric at that point. And it was fine, and it handled it fine. But it just seemed a bit odd. I didn't really understand why we were doing it like that. It also made it slightly harder, I think, for me to match up the seam lines. I don't think you'll be able to see this at all. Maybe you can. I don't know. The seams of my top, the bodice part of my top with the seam of the sleeve and the underarm, so they're ever so slightly off by a few millimeters. It's in the underarm, no one's ever going to see it, and it's fine, but I think it would have been easier for me to see the seams more clearly had I pressed them open than pressing them to one side. Just my thoughts on that. Just my personal preference. If anyone knows why you would press them towards the back or in one direction, let me know in the comments below, because for this pattern there didn't really seem to be a particular reason. It did in one way make it a little bit easier to identify the sleeves, the front of the sleeve and the back of the sleeve, because it's shaped ever so slightly differently, the front and the back, I believe. But it's not marked on the pattern which is the front and the back, apart from the notches. So there's the back has 2 notches and the front has 1 notch. Nowhere in the pattern does it tell you that. I just kind of guessed, and it seems to have worked okay. So because I pressed them toward the seams towards the back, so I then matched up the sleeve where I'd pressed the seams towards the back and the bodice where I pressed it towards the back, and they were going in the same direction, and that's how I used it to figure out which way around the sleeves went. But apart from that, I don't really see why we were pressing them towards the back. So like I said, if anyone knows, please put it in the comments, because I would be interested. But I feel like I've been criticising this pattern a lot, and I did like it, and I will probably make another one because it was really simple and straightforward, and the instruction booklet that came with it was pretty easy to understand. I would have liked more photographs, or at least a picture of the finished garment, because like I said, all you get is the line drawing, and sometimes it's nice to have a line drawing and sometimes it's nice to have a photograph, so why not just have both. Anyway, I am rambling. I feel like I am waffling. I will insert some pictures of what the top looks like when it's on. I hope you have liked the video. If you have liked it, please give me a like. Like I said, if you have any comments on the top or any tips, please leave them in the comments below, because I am really kind of learning how to do sewing properly again. And if you would like to see more videos like this, please subscribe.